We'll carry on. And we'll start off with the invocation. This is one of the stanzas from the Sad Goswami Astakam. Nana Shastra Vicharane Kanipano Sadharma Samstapako Lokanamita Karino Tribhuvane Manya Sharanya Karo Radha Krishna Padara Vrinda Bhajana Nandena Mataliko Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghujugo Shri Jiva Gopalako. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis, namely Shri Sanatan Goswami, Shri Rupa Goswami, Shri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Shri Raghunath Das Goswami, Shri Jiva Goswami, and Shri Gopala Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus, they are honored all over the three worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Radha and Krishna. Shri Shri Sad Goswami Astaka by Srinivas Acharya. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmalitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vashali Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastacha Deshatarine. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So just a quick refresher. Welcome everyone. Let's just see who else has joined us. Emma Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So we're studying the Eastern Division, just like the ocean, as four directions: east, west, south, and north. Srila Rupa Goswami likens or compares the ocean of bhakti to be like an ocean with many divisions. And we are the first division described in the Nectar of Devotion is the Eastern Division. It's the first 19 chapters. Our study of the Nectar of Devotion, both in the Bhakti Shastri course, and I'm following that format, is to study the first 19 chapters. And the first chapter, including the introduction, is a general description of bhakti, giving the definition of bhakti, explaining the general characteristics, the 6 characteristics of pure devotional service. Let's see, just a quick refresh of the 6 characteristics. Let's see who can remember which characteristic. And if you can put your hand up or say, of the 6, what you can remember. You don't have to remember the Sanskrit. You can say the English.
One Kleshagni.
Kleshagni, yes, meaning?
The material existence, everything is burnt by it. Krishna consciousness is so auspicious, everything is burnt.
Yes.
with holy name. By
It
chanting.
brings, Kleshagni means, it brings, Klesha means distress. And Agni means relief, or also burns. It's got double meaning. So the first characteristics, it brings immediate relief from all material distress. Immediate. Anyone remembers any of the other 5?
It brings all auspiciousness.
Yeah, Shubhada. It brings all auspiciousness.
Transcendental pleasure or something.
Sandrananda Visheshatma. Is that the one you're referring to?
Yes.
Yeah. Condensed ecstatic bliss. That's the 5th one. Anyone else?
Oh, lowly and not trying. Is there something about greed? No, it's not lowly. Everything. There is something about everything and everyone is Krishna, but I don't know the all I just remember you saying everything everywhere is Krishna.
Yeah, that's the definition. Anyway, it's Kleshagni Shubhada Moksha Laguta Krit. It makes the achievement of moksha seem insignificant. Sandrananda Visheshatma, which is it's condensed bliss. Krishna Karshini, which is it attracts Krishna, and some of the other, I just forgot one now. It's good for me to refresh my mind. Kashagni, Moksha Lagutakrit, Sudurlabhaya, Sudurlabha. It's very rarely achieved. So those are the 6 characteristics. Those are covered. We covered the definition and the 6 characteristics in intro and chapter 1. Then we spoke about sadhana bhakti. Who can, in their own words, tell me what is sadhana bhakti? What does sadhana mean?
Practice.
Practice, yes. Devotional service and practice.
Actually practicing according to the injunctions of the scriptures. This is what I remember.
Yeah, that's the characteristics. What are the true drivers for sadhana bhakti? There's 2 types of sadhana bhakti: Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, Raganuga sadhana bhakti. Vaidhi sadhana bhakti is following it's called regulative devotional service. And as Chandrika Mataji means, there's 2 drivers for that. One is the order of the spiritual master, and the second is the injunction of the scriptures. The second type of sadhana bhakti is not driven by the scriptures. It's not driven by the order of guru. What is it driven by? Natural attraction for Krishna. Natural attraction. Will have a natural attraction to serve Krishna in a certain way. Then what do we practice? Then we take a particular resident of Vrindavan whose mood we covet. If we have a mood as a Saka, we'll follow the daily activities of Madhu Mangal or Subal. If we are coveting the mood of Vatsalya, we'll covet the mood of, we'll read about Mother Yashoda, but we'll cover all of that. So that's a different type of practice, 2 types of sadhana: Vaidhi sadhana and Raganuga sadhana. And then later on, we'll study Bhava Bhakti and Prema Bhakti. But then coming back to sadhana bhakti, we said that there are 64 items which make up sadhana bhakti, which was essentially chapter number 6. We went through the 64 items. The first 10 were the positive injunctions. Then the next 10 were the negative prohibitions. And then we went through the next 44, which was general. And then we finally arrived in our study at chapter number 7, where we said this is called the science of devotional service. And science means what? You have to produce evidence. You cannot take anything to be scientific unless you provide evidence. The normal scientific process is the evidence is obtained by hypothesis, theory, and verification. And then you grab the evidence. But the Vedic process of getting evidence is what? What is the Vedic process to get evidence to support whatever we are stating?
Following the authorized
masters, the previous acharyas.
Yes, Shabda Praman. Praman means evidence. So Shabda Praman means the evidence of sound. What's sound? The sound of the Vedic literature. So the Vedic science or the Eastern science or the Vedic science, it's also evidence. But this evidence, it's the top-down knowledge. That means the perfect knowledge is there. It's there, it's revealed in the scripture. We don't have to experiment, we don't have to hypothesize, we don't have to do conclusions. It's there, the truth is established. The science is there. All we have to do is extract and use that as evidence. That's the Vedic literature. So this is what Srila Rupa Goswami does. He goes now in chapter 7, for each of the 64 items we have been discussing, he has been providing supporting evidence. Supporting evidence from where? The scriptures. And this is when I studied the Nectar of Devotion, is just which I was completely blown away. I was just completely blown away how Srila Rupa Goswami, for each of those 64 items, he didn't have Google, he didn't have database, he didn't have computer, he didn't have iPhone, but yet for each of these principles of 64 principles, he was just able to get, right? Skanda Purana, this Upanishad, that he would just quote the most appropriate verses. And this is what we've been studying. And dear devotees, sometimes when we do the Nectar of Devotion course, we don't spend much time on this chapter number 7. Because it seems like it's just quotations after quotations from the Shastra. Now, I personally am spending time on this and going through the various evidences. Now, why do I feel this is important we do this? Because we are practicing devotees. And we have to be convinced that everything we are practicing has a strong foundation embedded in the Shastra. This is not something that somebody has made up. This is not something that's whimsical. This is coming from the Shastra. And if for any time we are challenged, why do you have to take initiation? Why do you have to accept a guru? Why do you worship the cow? Why do you worship the banyan tree? Why do you have this prohibition? You can immediately say, okay, I shall give you the evidence, and you can go here and you will see. So it increases our faith, and it also makes us better preachers, because ultimately, everyone who's following in this Krishna consciousness movement, Prabhupada wanted us to preach. He wanted us to spread this Krishna consciousness. So my wish is one day Kishore Prabhu will be teaching Nectar of Devotion to 10 students. One day Mayank Prabhu will have his own students. One day Chandrika Mataji will have, and all of y'all will be teaching Nectar of Devotion one day. This is my wish. This is Srila Prabhupada's wish. That this science, this beautiful science that Srila Rupa Goswami has given us, the pains that he has taken, not even with paper and pen, but just with a palm leaf and a nib. He has painstakingly written this nectar of devotion, and given us the greatest science, we can really take advantage of what Srila Rupa Goswami has given us. So this is, some of you may be wondering, why do I waste so much of time, take so much of time to go through each of these verses? That's the reason. That's the reason. Any questions or comments? You all good? Okay. Okay, let's just move on. Okay, so these are the chapters we've arrived at. Chapter 1 was characteristic of pure devotional service. Introduction was definition. First stages of devotional service, eligibility of the candidates. I won't go through all of this. Hopefully you all remember. Devotional service surpasses all liberation, the purity of devotional service, how to discharge devotional service. And here we are now, evidence regarding devotional principles. And I do hope I am at the right place. I just went through the last lecture you posted on our forum, Mayank Prabhu, and that was, I think, on the 26th of November was the last time we got together. So I just saw where we stopped and I'm taking off from there. Is that all right?
Yeah, sure, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I think I missed one class after that. I was not well, or I was not available that day.
Okay.
So I don't have recording for that one. So I think one class has happened which I missed.
Yeah, I think that actually may be true. That may be true. So can anyone remember where we stopped? We discussed the importance of Ekadasi. We discussed about the banyan tree. We discussed about giving up the association of non-devotees. Can anyone else recall where we got to?
We did all the 64 qualities. There's loads of qualities that we did.
Yes, we did the 64 qualities, which was chapter number 6. Now we went into the evidence.
Evidence. I don't remember.
You can't remember. All right, not to worry. Repetition in devotional service is never lost. So maybe I will pick up by
Prabhuji, my last notes are saying not giving pain to any living entities. I don't know whether I might have missed the last demigods, and then not giving pain to any living entity.
okay, that's
Number 15.
That's great. That's great then.
Thank you.
So what we get into then is we move into chapter 8 then, which is the offenses to be avoided. So that is yeah, let me just go. I understand now. I think what you say is true. So what we essentially forgot, the last one was does not giving pain into any other living entities. And maybe I will just quickly go back to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. You can see, and that was a quotation from the Mahabharata. A pure person who does not inflict pain on others, being merciful like a father to his son, quickly pleases the master of the senses. Rishikesas turnam tasya prasidati. That means Krishna, this principle, the whole principle of devotional service is to please Krishna. That's what devotional service means, to make Krishna happy. And Srila Rupa Goswami says in this verse, and he gives the quotation from the Mahabharata, one who makes other living entities unhappy displeases Krishna. And one who does not inflict pain, at least on the other living entities, and is merciful to them, then one quickly pleases Rishikesha, Krishna. In fact, I previously quoted Srila Vishnava Chakrabarti Thakur. And Srila Vishnava Chakrabarti Thakur, in one of his books, he writes, the qualities one should have to reside in Vrindavan. And one of the qualities, he says, is to see every living entity as one's loving child. As one's loving child. And if one got this mood, that's one of the moods of the Vrajavasis. I know, and some of you must know, when you go on the Vrindavan Parikram, this is the Parikram around Vrindavan. On that road, there is a landmark that always makes me think about this particular quality. Anyone remembers what that landmark is? I took a photo of it the last time I was in Vrindavan when we were doing the Parikram, and I'll share it with you all. In this Vrindavan road, right in the middle of the road is a tree. So the road is there, and you come to a point in the road, there's a tree, and one part of the road goes left around the tree, and then one goes right. And it epitomizes, what is the mood of the Vrajavasis. Even the tree is considered to be so sacred, so sacred. So now we move on to, and if you have your books, you can open up to your books. We now move into chapter number 8, offenses to be avoided. And there's a total of, Prabhupada 31. Prabhupada goes to 32. Yeah, 32. And then Prabhupada, you can see on chapter 8, he does 32. And then he goes to further offenses. So let's read about the offenses, and then we can have some brief discussion about this. And maybe I'll just, at this point in time, refer to Srila Prabhupada's Nectar of Devotion, and some of you can read that. Just bear with me while I navigate to chapter 8. Good. Okay, so let me request Kishore Prabhu. I've got on the screen now the offenses to be avoided. Can you read the first 10, please?
Yeah, okay. In the supplementary Vedic literature, there is the following list of 32 offenses in the matter of serving the Lord. First one is, one should not enter the temple of the deity in a car or palanquin or with shoes on the feet. Second, one should not fail to observe the various festivals for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, such as Janmashtami and Radha Rath Yatra. One should not avoid bowing down before the deity. Fourth one should not enter the temple to worship the Lord without having washed one's hands and feet after eating. Fifth one is, one should not enter the temple in a contaminated state. According to Vedic scripture, if someone dies in the family, the whole family becomes contaminated for some time according to its status. For example, if the family is Brahmana, their contamination period is 12 days. For Kshatriya and Vaishyas, it is 15 days, and for Sudras, it is 30 days. Sixth one is, one should not bow down on one hand. Seventh, one should not circumambulate in front of Sri Krishna. The process of circumambulating the temple is that one should begin circumambulating from deity's right hand side of the temple and come round. Such circumambulations should be performed outside the temple structure at least 3 times daily. Eighth one is, one should not spread his legs before the deity. Ninth one is, one should not sit before the deity holding the ankles, elbows, or knees with one's hands. And 10th one is, one should not lie down before the deity of Krishna. 11th one is, one should not accept.
We can stop there, Prabhu. So what we will do, we'll discuss the first. Thank you very much. So yeah, you devotees, you see the first 10 the first 10 principles. It's important we avoid this. Where is this taken from, these 10 principles? What does Srila Prabhupada say? In the supplementary literature, in the Nectar of Devotion, Srila Rupa Goswami says, he writes, Seva nam aparadam varjinam yata varaheha. One should avoid the offenses in deity worship described in me, O earth, at all times and with great care. So first, Srila Rupa Goswami quotes the Varaha Purana, and then he says, now he's going to list the offenses in deity worship. And where does he get this from? From the Varaha Purana and Padma Purana. And he says it's agamas. And actually, he gets this from Srila Sanatana Goswami's Hari Bhakti Vilas in the first instance. And as Prabhupada says here, what says Rupa Goswami actually writes before this, a person who commits all offenses is freed from all those offenses by taking complete shelter of Hari. But the two-legged animal who commits offenses against Hari is freed from the offenses by taking shelter of Hari's name. However, though the name is the friend of all, by committing an offense against the name, a person falls to the lower categories. Lower categories. And then Srila Jiva Goswami, this is where it comes from. Jiva Goswami in his commentary gives all of these offenses in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So all of this is coming from Srila Jiva Goswami. You will know that this week we celebrated the disappearance day of Srila Jiva Goswami. Maybe if there's some time in the end, we will do some reading about Srila Jiva Goswami. So in terms of the first 10 items, the Seva Aparads, worshipping the deity, has anyone got any questions or comments? Any questions or comments? Okay, that's fine. So we'll move on then.
I've just got one, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
So the one about washing our hands and feet before, after eating,
Yeah.
that's not always possible, but as long as we wash our hands. So if we're at the Manas Day, for example, and we've had prasadam, then we wouldn't be able to wash our feet.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, in the Indian temples, obviously the system is different. We have taps at the beginning. You wash your hands, you wash your feet. Some devotees, they just do achaman on their feet, or they just sprinkle a few drops on their feet. It's not necessary. That's also considered,
Okay.
washing your feet. You can do that. You can do that. Okay. Let us then move on to the next 10 items. And who shall we ask? Mayank Prabhu, you can do the next 10, starting from 11.
One should not accept prasad before the deity. One should never speak a lie before the deity. One should not talk very loudly before the deity. One should not talk with others before the deity. One should not cry or howl before the deity. One should not quarrel or fight before the deity. One should not chastise anyone before the deity. One should not be charitable to beggars before the deity. One should not speak very harshly to others before the deity. One should not wear a fur blanket before the deity.
Thank you. So some interesting ones again, all of principles of deity worship. This number 12, one should not speak a lie before the deity. What pastime comes to mind? The pastime of Shakshi Gopal. two Brahmanas, the young Brahmana and the old Brahmana. The old Brahmana said, I will give you my daughter's hand in marriage. But he couldn't. And the deity, being so affectionate, Shakshi Gopal, he walked just to prove his devotee's word. One should not talk with others before the deity. This is an interesting one. We know in Krishna consciousness there's higher and lower principles. So I told a story previously about how Guru Das Prabhu was once in Prabhupada's room, and Prabhupada used to have his Radha Govinda deities in the room. So Guru Das Prabhu was praising one of the devotees, Prabhupada's disciples. And then he suddenly heard his mouth. He said, "Oh, Prabhupada, I'm so sorry. It says in the Nectar of Devotion, we should not praise anyone in front of the deities. I'm so sorry." And Prabhupada said, no, there's higher principle and there's lower principle. Actually, Krishna is very pleased when his devotees are praised. Krishna is already glorified, Prabhupada said. But when his devotee is glorified, Krishna is very pleased. So the principle of pleasing Krishna is the ultimate principle. They all are pretty self-explanatory. This is an interesting one, number 18. One should not be charitable to beggars before the deity. Any thoughts on that?
I was going to ask you about that one, Prabhuji.
I thought about it, and I'll share with you my thoughts, and then you can share with me whether you think. Actually,
Like I've not seen any beggars, Prabhuji, here in Watford temple, outside the temple.
yeah, we not see it. Maybe you may see it in Soho Street. Maybe not so much in Bhaktivedanta Manor, in Soho Street, but certainly in India, in the temples, you would see many beggars. When I thought about this, is I thought, just like in the Bhagavad Gita, in the last verse of the 5th chapter, Bhoktaram Yagyatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Surinam Sarva Bhuteshu. There it is explained that Krishna is the well-wisher of all living entities. Sarva Bhutanam, all living entities. Surinam Sarva Bhutanam. So, the deity is standing there. The deity is the well-wisher of all living entities. The deity is the most capable person of bestowing goodwill upon anybody. So if we are trying to be charitable to someone in front of the deity, we almost, in one sense, are taking on a superior position to the deity. That person has so much better scope for benediction and goodwill if he stands in front of the deity, and the deity gives him blessings. That is the highest charity. Krishna is the biggest benefactor of all living entities. So that was my thought when I read that one, that Krishna is the best well-wisher. So how can we show that we are well-wisher? Rather direct them to Krishna, and Krishna will give them the best. Do you think that's sensible? That's a reasonable explanation? When I was reading, that's what's thought. But if anyone else has got further thoughts, you can you can share also.
I mean, it could be misconstrued, that sort of approach. You know, like traditionally, temples and churches and monasteries are often places of refuge as well for people in need. And you know, if you then said, well, I can't be charitable to you because you know, in front of the deity, then you could kind of over translate that, I think.
Yeah, you can interpret it in different ways. You can also always go outside before the deity. I think it's almost a sign of showing respect to the deity. That here is the deity, he's the father. And just like a child, you know, if one of the children will say, you know, go take shelter of the father. The father is far more capable. You know, I can give you some charity, but Krishna is the most capable person of giving you the best charity. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, let's move on. If no one else has got any questions or comments, I'm not looking at if anyone's got any hands up.
Prabhuji, sorry, I just I wanted to add something that I think in front of the deities can be interpreted as either inside the temple, but outside the temple, as we come out, there are lots of beggars in India, and everyone gives something once you've taken darshan of the deities. So I don't know, in front meaning when we are inside the temple, then I've never seen beggars inside the temple ever asking for things.
Yes, that's what I took it. You know, outside where you're not directly in front of the deity, then you give. And generally you see in India, the beggars themselves, they know some of the etiquette. You don't really see much beggars coming in the temple and begging.
No,
they always stand outside the temple and they beg.
Yes. So that should be okay, isn't it? To give outside.
Yes, that is fine to beg outside and to give charity as you come outside. It's just a sign of respect for the deity in. You know, it's like also from the beggar's perspective, you know, here is the most, you know, the charitable, your biggest well-wisher, and you're going approaching someone else, you know. You should go in front of the deity and go approach the deity.
Ask him, yes. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I have a quick question, Prabhuji, sorry, on the same. On point 15, one should not cry or bow. Was it bow before the deity? Number 15.
Cry or howl before the deity, yes.
Bow. So I remember when I first joined ISKCON, I used to have some issues. I still have issues. We all have issues. But I'm saying, like, sometimes you feel a bit welled up with something, you know, and you just want to cry out. And Krishna is the only person to who we can sort of open our heart to, and nobody needs to know, you know. And at home, sometimes we may do that. So why in Maras Mataji, Harikirtan Prabhu's Mataji, she told me it's fine to do that.
To cry in front of Krishna and the deity.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, one should go to the deity and reveals one's mind and one's heart to the deity. But one should do it in a in proper etiquette, you know, in a very. I know in South Africa, I've not seen it here in the manner, but sometimes people should come for they bang their chest, you know, and they will howl and they make a big racket.
No, I don't mean it.
Yeah. So I think this means what I've just said, crying or howling before the deity, you know, that is disturbing to the deity. You know, one is allowed to, you know, tearful, heartfelt prayers. It said we should offer heartfelt prayers to Krishna, and Krishna appreciates that. But not create a bit of a scene, you know, in front of the deities.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a private thing. That's all I just.
It's a private thing. So what you do and what you've just said is perfectly fine. I think this applies to more of those people that create a scene in front of the deity.
Yeah.
It's not conducive to create a scene before the deity. Okay, the other one is interesting. One is number 20. One should not wear a fur blanket before the deity.
It's a bit cold these days.
I was reading, I'm not sure if any of you saw it yesterday. I was reading about the how winter is celebrated in Vraj. It was such an amazing article about how the devotees in Vraj, how they take care of the deities. You must be seeing now the pictures of the deities. They got big mittens, they got big woolen hat, they got big scarf, and you know, some of their outfits are thick. Strangely enough, if you read the pastimes of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you must be knowing he went, I think it was Varanasi, Mahaprabhu went to Sanatan Goswami went to meet Mahaprabhu, and he had a big beard, he had a thick shawl, and he went to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so Mahaprabhu looked at Sanatan Goswami and he didn't say anything. So the first day, Mahaprabhu went and he shaved. I mean, Sanatan Goswami went and he shaved. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw him, was very pleased. Then he went and he used a certain type of cloth, and Mahaprabhu was pleased. But he still kept his big opulent shawl. And he noticed that Mahaprabhu was looking at the shawl but was not saying anything. And Sanatan Goswami was thinking to himself, I wonder if he's a little displeased about me having this thick shawl, this very opulent shawl. So he went down to the bathing ghat, and there was a man there with washing his very simple, thin, torn shawl. And Sanatan Goswami said, you know, I have one request for you, please. And he said, what? He said, would you mind if I swap my shawl with yours? And this washerman became a bit upset. He said, why are you mocking me? You know, why are you trying to make fun of me? And Sanatan Goswami said, no, I'm serious. I really want to. I want to swap my opulent shawl with your, you know, very plain and torn quilt. And anyway, he swapped it, and he put this torn quilt, and he went to see Mahaprabhu. And when he went to see Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu smiled. Mahaprabhu smiled, and Sanatan Goswami understood that, as it said in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, renunciation is the ornament of Mahaprabhu's devotees. Renunciation. So the principle, when I thought about this, the principle is when we go in front of the deity, we go very much in a very simple mood, a very humble mood, and you know, wearing an opulent fur blanket before the deity, that just shows a different type of consciousness, not the type of consciousness we want to go with in front of the deity. That was my particular thoughts. When I read that, immediately I thought about this pastime of Sanatan Goswami with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Any further comments or additions by anyone?
Prabhuji, one should not wear fur full stop.
Yeah.
In front of the deities or outside.
No,
No fur or leather.
anyway,
preferably.
I mean, I didn't even know what was this fur, but if we're talking about, the other day, Vrindavan and myself, we were talking about, you know, normally fur is made from seal cubs. That is the most obnoxious way of ever getting any fur.
Exactly. So no fur at all.
Yeah. Gaurani Mataji, you've raised your hand.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji,
Hare
Dandavat Pranam.
Krishna.
Sorry, I joined late. I got the WhatsApp link late. Prabhuji, and not the WhatsApp, I mean the class Zoom link. Prabhuji, I had also heard in this reference somewhere, can't remember which class, but this Prabhu or Maharaj was saying that we should not only the fur, but that is obviously in no way, but we should also not dress very attractively or very opulently or extremely beautifully and go to temple, because the purpose is not for other guests who have come to attract them to us. The attraction is deities. Because our purpose is that deities are most beautiful and we have come to take darshan. So yes, I mean, festivals we can dress nicely, but one's purpose should not be very glamorous, attractive look, because then others get attracted to you. But we should be in the background. Deities are the attraction in the temple hall. And also another thing I had heard in another lecture is that what is the pride and this showing off about? First of all, we should have this humble mood that we have fallen into this material world. We would not have been here up away from Krishna if we had not desired. If we were that elevated and pure, we would not have come to this material universe. So what is the pride about? In fact, there is so much to lament that we need to go back and purify ourselves. So all this thing about dressing and the attractive look and everything and revealing some parts of body, we see even sometimes the devotees not wearing kanthi mala nowadays, and they wear like shoulders are showing or something. Or I'm not just criticizing, but we see all of this. These reasons are because they want others to attract to them. I mean, what are your thoughts? But attraction are the deities, not us. We should go etiquettely, properly dressed. Yeah, we can dress up, but its attraction should not be on us.
Yes, you know, there's a common saying that you eat for yourself, but you dress for others. I'm not sure if you heard that saying.
Yeah.
I think even Prabhupada said that you eat for yourself, but you dress
Yeah.
for others. So the principle is, I know there's two understanding of what you've just said. Some people feel when they go to see the deity, they should dress very attractively, but attractively not to get attraction from the other people in the temple room, but to please Krishna. You know, Krishna will think, oh, my devotee is dressed very nice today. So there's two versions of this. One is, you know, taking on this principle of we dress for others. You know, if we dress for Krishna, that Krishna may be thinking, oh, my devotee is dressed nice. I like this dress. You know, that's okay. It all depends on the consciousness. But if one is dressing very opulently because others will be attracted to praise, and then that's the wrong consciousness. Sorry.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, I totally understood. It's the consciousness. And we should dress nicely to please Krishna. Like gopis always dress beautifully to please Krishna. Yes. So, I mean, we are not comparing, but we want to please Krishna. So we should dress beautifully. So it's the intention and consciousness that matters.
Yes, absolutely. That's a principle in bhakti.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
But we have to be quite elevated in our consciousness.
Yes.
To dress nicely for Krishna. That is quite an elevated state of consciousness. Number of us fall in the category of others finding us rather than Krishna.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons why I mentioned about that it could attract others, because I know my consciousness is not that elevated at all, and I have a lot of purification to do. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So let's move on to the it's almost 10 to now. So let's read from 21, and let's see who we can ask to read. Pramod Prabhu, would you? Oh no, let's the Mataji's read. Chandrika Mataji, if you read from number 21, please.
One should not, I'm on my phone, so one should not eulogize or praise anyone else before the deity. 22. One should not speak any ill name before the deity. 23. One should not pass air before the deity. 24. One should not fail to worship the deity according to one's means. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that the Lord is satisfied if some devotee offers him even a leaf or a little water. This formula prescribed by the Lord is universally applicable, even for the poorest man. But that does not mean that one who has sufficient means to worship the Lord very nicely should also adopt this method and try to satisfy the Lord simply by offering water and leaf. If he has sufficient means, he should offer nice decorations, nice flowers, and nice foodstuffs, and observe all ceremonies. It is not that one should try to satisfy the Supreme Lord with a little water and leaf, and for himself spend all his money in sense gratification. 25. One should not eat anything that is not offered first to Krishna. 26. One should not fail to offer fresh fruit and grains to Krishna according to the season. 27. After food has been cooked, no one should be offered any foodstuff unless it is first offered to the deity. 28. One should not sit with his back toward the deity. 29. One should not offer obeisances silently to the spiritual master. One should not sit, no, from that one. One should not offer obeisances silently to the spiritual master, or in other words, one should recite aloud the prayers to the spiritual masters while offering obeisances. 30. One should not fail to offer some praise in the presence of the spiritual master. 31. One should not praise himself before the spiritual master. 32. One should not deride the demigod before the deity.
Thank you. Some very, very interesting ones here. It's interesting. I think we spoke about one should not eulogize or praise anyone before the deity. And again, very similar to this, you understand that in the morning during Mangala Arati, when we do Tulsi Arati, the curtains are closed. But when we do Guru Puja in the temple, the curtains are open. So someone may say, Guru Puja is praising the spiritual master. And Prabhupada gave us the standard that the temple curtains can be open during Guru Puja. So someone may say, Prabhupada made some mistake here. Someone made some mistake. No. If we look at this list of items, you can see that this is all this is meant to be offenses against the deity. But if you notice number 29, Prabhupada talks about one should not offer, well, this is Padma Purana and Varaha Purana in Srila Rupa Goswami. It's not only Prabhupada. Prabhupada is translating. One should not offer obeisances silently to the spiritual master. One should not fail to offer praise in presence of spiritual master, and so on. So one may think, oh, why is deity now suddenly the spiritual master is coming? In the Vaishnava culture or in the Vedic literature, it is said, and I'll show you also, there's a wonderful verse in the Bhagavad Gita. It is said that the disciple accepts the spiritual master as his worshipable deity. This is in Bhagavatam itself. The spiritual master is the worshipable deity. Prabhupada really instilled, even in the very first Mangala Arati, we sing the Guru Vastakam. Although it's Mangala Arati to the Lord, we are singing the Guru Vastakam, the 8 prayers in praise of the spiritual master. Because in Vaishnava culture, the spiritual master is the representation of the deity. And he's also the deity. One should also see the spiritual master, as Prabhupada said, as good as Krishna. One should worship the spiritual master as good as Krishna. So interestingly, I thought I would make that very important point about how, although we're talking about Krishna here, the spiritual master is coming. That's the reason why. And also Prabhupada makes very interestingly the comment on on the item number 24, where it says one should offer the deity according to one's means. So if we have, good means, we should offer the deity according to, let's say Krishna says, offer me with fruit, flower, leaf, or water. We give Krishna only some leaf and water. No, we should worship the deity according to our means. And the more means we have, then the more opulent we should worship the deity. And then Prabhupada also taught the devotees that whenever we go to see the deity, we should also take some gift for the deity, some flower, some fruit. We give some dakshina. Every time we go before the deity, we should go in this mood of wanting to serve the deity, give something. At least offer some nice prayers. But if we have the means, then we should offer more than that. Okay. Where was it said, stretching one's legs in front of the deities? I've seen a few times people do that. Also hold one's feet in front of the deity. These are just some principles of etiquette. So I'll stop here for today's session. I'm not sure if anyone's got any comments, questions, or reflections.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I've got a question.
Yes.
So when you were talking about doing Tulsi Arati in front of the deities, so at home, we don't close our little altar is open. And when should we not be doing Tulsi Arati in front of the deities then?
If you want to follow the standard in the temple, I would think so.
Okay.
Yeah. I think so. All of the standards at home are allowed to be a bit more relaxed. But if you can see the standard. But then again, I like to answer. I was just thinking while I was speaking about that. The reason they close the curtains is so that the pujaris can start the worship of the deities. So I would just hold back on my response, Mataji, before I say that, is it just because of the situation, or is it very important principle that we should not worship Tulsi in front of the deities? So I'd like to just reserve my complete feedback on that one.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna. Let me see, anyone else have their hand up? Divya Gaurangi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So my question was regarding the last point about stretching legs and certain etiquette. So pre-COVID, couple of years back, we used to make garlands in the temple hall itself, the service. So a few of us would be sitting and making garlands, and we will see lot of visitors would come who are new. They are not devotees or not initiated or not so much into our ISKCON. So they would be newcomers, and when they come, they would stretch their legs out or talk very, very loudly, or like they are in like a museum or something. They go to the deity and take photos with the deity, or they stand in such a way that they cover deities, but they make sure that they are in the photo frame, like that. So we would be seeing the friends making garlands, and we always thought whether, because they are newcomers, we don't want to discourage them. So should we, because we've seen certain offenses, especially like the legs are directly pointing as if they are sitting in their sitting room, they'll sit like that. So at that point, should we go and approach them gently, explain not to do, or should we leave it because they are newcomers, we want them to come again? So what should we do? Because we can see the offense, that this is offense.
Very good question. It's happened to me too a few times, where I've deliberated, quite long and hard on what should I do. Should I tell them or not? Again, I would say it's consciousness, Mataji. We studied in Nectar of Instruction, there is the two words niyamagraha and niyamagraha. One is being too attached to the rules and regulations, and one is being too lax with the rules and regulations, simply for the sake of following them. One of the most important instructions we got from Srila Prabhupada is to treat people in a way that they'll become attracted to Krishna. And certainly Prabhupada himself, when he first started preaching, if we were to look at Prabhupada's example himself, when he first started to preach in the West, he used to see and notice so many things that were there, that the rules and regulations according to Nectar of Instruction that his followers were not following. And Prabhupada took the approach to ignore it. And when they were a little more mature, then to teach them the proper etiquette. Prabhupada was in the mood that more importantly was for them to chant Hare Krishna, because people today, their egos are quite big. They don't like to be told what to do, to be chastised, and so on. So, my default position most of the time, if I think the people are pretty new, is to not try to tell them about all the rules and regulations, because really we will see so many things wrong. Later on we'll read you should not use red before. You could be telling the people so many things, so many things. And I would think, I think we would have to use your discretion. Normally I am on the side of not saying. And if I meet the person and I see that they are, they're very open-minded, and in a very gentle and a nice way, we will just say, the deity is Krishna. There are some certain principles, and for example, these are the principles, indirectly. Or Prabhupada also used to say that the mother-in-law instructs the daughter-in-law through the daughter. So sometimes maybe, you could show them something by pointing it out to another devotee. It's not an easy one. I think we've got to use our discretion. The most important principle is how do we draw them closer to Krishna? How do we make them feel comfortable in the temple? And this can follow later.
Yes. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Yes, that's very useful explanation. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Pramod Prabhu, you also had your hand up.
No, Prabhu, that was me from earlier.
That was you from earlier. Okay. All right. I was just here. Just last night, my Guru Maharaj was giving a class on Zoom to the devotees in Santa Domingo. And he spoke about a lot about what Prabhupada spoke about deity worship. And one thing Prabhupada told the devotees in terms of worshiping Radha Rasa Bihari, he said, don't spare any expense. Don't spare any expense. Feed them gorgeously, opulently, and dress them gorgeously. And to this day, the devotees in Juhu, one of the most opulently dressed deities are Radha Rasa Bihari. And deity worship is very important. So thank you, dear devotees. Thank you for your attention. We'll time permitting and circumstances permitting, we'll try to continue next week and finish off this chapter. Any closing comments or questions anyone has? No. Okay, thank you. Vanchikalpatarubhyascha. Kripasindhubhyevacha.
Patitanam
Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo.
Anantakoti
Thank you.
Vaishnavrinda ki jai.
Thank you.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Go Premanande.
Guru Guru Premanande. Hari Bol. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, dear devotees.